because of the holiday. Yeah, hopefully everybody could hear that. But this meeting is now called to order of the Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Committee. I'm Councilmember Cam Gordon, Chair of the committee. Today I'm joined by Andrew Johnson, Jacob Fry, Elizabeth Glidden, and Lisa Bender. We're a quorum of the committee, and we can do the committee's business. We have 8 items on our agenda today, actually. 7 are consent items. I'll go through those consent items first, and if any committee member would like to pull something off for discussion or comment, you can do so after I read through the list. First item is Minneapolis Advisory Committee on People with Disabilities approving or confirming mayoral appointments for 2-year terms beginning January 1, 2015 and ending December 31st, 2016 of Marie Listopad, Corinne Morton, Rosalind Sampson, Mohammed Issa, and Donna Hemp, and Joan Wilshire. Second item is authorizing acceptance of $10,000 from the Environmental Initiative to support the Urban Forestry Project. Third item is authorizing acceptance of $125,000 from the U.S. Department of Justice for continued youth violence prevention activities. Fourth item is approving the appointment of Yolanda Adams Lee to fill an unexpired 2-year term on the Public Health Advisory Committee that began on January 1st, 2015 and ends December 31st, 2016. Fifth item is authorizing an amendment to a contract with Megan Ellingson, LCC, and LLC, increasing the contract by $25,000 for a revised contract total of $75,000 and extending the contract termination date to December 31st, 2015. This is to provide consulting services for the Healthy Living Program. The sixth item is authorizing an agreement with Afaxis, Inc. for a group purchasing program membership that allows for purchasing of pharmaceuticals and medical products at reduced cost for our school-based clinics. The seventh item is authorizing the Brian White HIV/AIDS Treatment Extension Act of 2009 Intergovernmental Agreement 3 between the state of Minnesota and its Department of Health and Department of Human Services, Hennepin and Ramsey counties, and the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. This is for the purpose of continuing those programs in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Those are the 7 consent items. Does any committee member wish to pull anything off for comment or questions? Seeing none, then I will move all 7 consent items. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That brings us to our 8th item, which is our discussion item, which is about our community solar garden subscription agreements. And this is something that we're going into with the Met Council, and it's going to be authorizing us to move forward with negotiations for solar electricity. And we have our energy manager, Brian Milberg, here ready to give us a little presentation and give us a chance to discuss this. Good morning, Mr. Milberg.
Good morning, Committee Chair Gordon, other council members. I've come today to ask for approval to move forward with the RFP process that we joined with the Met Council a few months ago to join with other local government entities in a search for subscription agreements with solar garden operators here in the state of Minnesota. The RFP has gone out. We are in the middle of assessing the responses, and in the next week to 3 weeks, there will be a lottery to choose which government entities were able to get slots in this subscription agreement process. The number of government entities that asked for subscriptions totals 31, and the number of gardens that were submitted under the RFP are not large enough to supply everyone with the electricity that they had requested, so there will be a lottery to apportion those subscriptions. I did want to take just one moment to explain the solar garden process and how it works. On this first slide here, we show there's kind of 3 sides to this. We have the garden operator who generates the electricity at their solar garden. They then give that electricity to Xcel free of charge. Xcel sends electricity to the subscriber, in this case the city of Minneapolis, and in this example I show the water treatment plant. This is a monthly amount of electricity in general that this particular account uses, and we currently pay an average of 8.2 cents per kilowatt hour for this electricity. None of this financial arrangement would change in this first slide. We still get all of our electricity from Excel. It's just that some of that electricity was generated at this solar garden. The financial flows are a little bit different. We continue to pay Excel just as we always do for all of the electricity. That's shown in the red line going back to Excel. So if we used all of the electricity, we would pay the $18,000 shown there. In addition, we pay the garden operator. We're allowed to subscribe to up to 40% of their output. In this case, that would be 40,000 kilowatt hours a month. And we sign a subscription agreement with the operator. And in that agreement, we agree to buy that electricity and pay them for that at a fixed rate that's in this contract. In this example, I showed that rate being 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Based on what we've seen in the marketplace, the prices for the electricity that we would be paying in the subscription agreements is higher than what we're paying currently for electricity from Excel. However, once that transaction is completed, Excel then gives a rebate, a credit to the subscriber, and that credit is apportioned by the Public Utilities Commission. And that number for this type of account has been set at 11.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So in essence, we're paying more since we're paying to the generator, to the operator of the solar garden, but at the same time, we're getting a credit back from Excel, which will actually exceed the amount that we paid to the operator of the garden. So just to recap, we had originally paid Excel this $18,737 without a subscription. We would still pay that. However, we would only be invoiced for $13,971 because of this credit. In the example I showed, we would be paying the operator $4,000, so our total monthly outlay would be just under $18,000. We'd save, in this example, $765 a month, or about 4% of our electricity cost. Our goal in this project is to subscribe to 12 million kilowatt hours of electricity per year, which is about 20% of our electricity usage in the city operations. It's unlikely we'll get all of that offered to us through this lottery process. We'll know in the next, as I said, 2 to 3 weeks how much we can enter into contracts for.
Thank you very much. I see some questions. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, are we exclusively dealing with the one solar garden?
In this process, we have the option, if we get subscriptions through this lottery process, there would be multiple garden operators. Each garden can only be 1 megawatt in size, and in the bidding process so far, we have 3 entities that have offered up subscriptions, and each of those entities has numerous 1 megawatt gardens.
So they're all co-located?
Some of them are. The PUC has made a ruling that only 5 1 megawatt gardens excuse me, can be co-located at the same entry point into the Excel grid.
Yeah. At first, I think that's silly. But second, can we deal with multiple different gardens at one time, or are we picking a certain one?
We will be assigned the option of accepting an agreement or rejecting it in the negotiating of the contract. We will, assuming we get slots in the lottery, we will be dealing with multiple operators at the same time.
And if we want to move beyond the 20% figure in the future, I mean, if we're saving $1,000 or whatever it is from 18,000 to 17,000 at 20%, it seemingly we could save more than that if we were 30 or 40. How long is the term of this contract?
The contracts are 25 years, and some contracts are a fixed rate. The rate never changes. Sometimes the operator of the garden may set a price with an escalator. We've seen escalators that are less than the average annual increase in Excel over the last 15 years. Mm-hmm. So it appears that from the financial arrangements we've seen, there always will be some positive outflow to the city.
So do we have the ability to increase within the term period? If after 5 years, all of a sudden there's, some additional, both political as well as scientific gains that allow better distribution, and we could get up to say 40%, do we have that ability to basically renege on our, well, not renege, but get out of our contract for the 25 years?
The contract has numerous options in it for removal of the subscriber, either because your entity is closed or the building has been shut down or you wish to change an account. We can change an account within Excel and have that energy applied to a different account. So there are numerous ways to adjust it. And the way the law is set up, one financial customer, in this case the city of Minneapolis, is allowed up to 40% of the output of a single solar garden. If we get an allotment of, let's say, 20% in this lottery, and 2 years from now, that garden operator says, I still have unsubscribed electricity, would you like to purchase more? We have the option of increasing our acceptance up to 40% of that particular garden.
Okay, and if we contracted with another garden on top of that first garden, could we then raise our subscription up to 60%? So 40% per garden.
It's per garden.
Okay, so we could do 40% with one and 40% with another.
Exactly.
Okay,
we can
so
keep
we're not
adding
precluded.
gardens.
We're not precluded from contracting with other solar companies.
Pardon?
We're not precluded from contracting with different solar companies on top of the 25-year term one.
Correct.
Got it.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, with 12 million kilowatt hours, what are our expected savings each month?
Well,
if we
again,
if we were to get the whole amount, and I'll couch that statement, if we were to somehow get the full 12 million kilowatt hours.
it appears, since we have not seen the results of the RFP process come through the full approval of the garden operators that submitted, but from what we've seen in the marketplace, it appears that the savings will be somewhere between 0.5 cent and 1 cent per kilowatt hour. So if we were able to get 12 million kilowatt hours, if it were a penny per kilowatt hour, that'd be $120,000 a year we would save.
All right, thank you.
I noticed in the staff report that, and I understand that the way the Metropolitan Council and the group went out for this RFP, we're not getting the renewable energy credits, and those are going to Excel. And I wonder if you could just explain to us a little bit, give us a little primer on what renewable energy credits are and what it means when we're giving those back to Excel, and what it might mean if we were to keep those, even though we can't with this agreement, but why those are important for us to even think about.
So the renewable energy credits is a system that's been set up for people to take accounting of their purchase of renewable energy. So a system has been set up where you get a credit, which is a certification that the power or energy that you're purchasing was produced in a renewable manner. So that of course could be wind, solar, hydroelectric, biomass, these types of electricity. The state has given Excel a goal that they have to have a certain amount of their power generated by renewable sources. So the way that they satisfy this requirement is to either generate electricity from renewable sources or to purchase electricity that has been generated from a renewable source. When they either generate or purchase that electricity, this credit gets assigned to their ledger books, and that's how they can certify that they've met their requirement. When you purchase a solar array on your own, if you pay for that array totally by yourself, you get those credits. They accrue to the owner of the array. However, if you participate in a program through Excel where they are giving you a rebate or a grant, those credits accrue to Excel. In this particular program, the Solar Garden, Community Solar Garden Program, the Public Utilities Commission set up two totally separate rebate tracks. There's a track for the credits accruing to Excel, and the rebate in that case was set at 11.9 cents per kilowatt hour for our type of customer that the city would be. And then if the credits have been assigned to the subscriber, which in this case would be us, that rebate is less. because you're getting the possible financial benefit of these credits, which can be sold on the open market. However, they're not worth very much today. They could be in the future. Most of the subscribers have decided financially that it makes more sense to save some money than to get the credits at this time. And so the contracts that appear to have been signed in the marketplace up to now have almost always accrued the credits to Xcel. In this Met Council process, because it complicates the procedure, some tracks have credits, some don't. The RFP went out asking that the credits went to Xcel to simplify the RFP process and to hopefully make the financial benefits greater to the government entities.
So if somebody was to keep, if a operator was to keep the energy credits, would it end up that the electricity would cost more, the same, or less than it would be if it was just a coal or a nuclear purchase?
The electricity for us as the subscriber, we would end up paying more than we're currently paying to Xcel if the credits accrued to us. In my example, I showed that the operator was charging us 10 cents for the electricity. If the credits were coming to us, the operator might charge us 11 or 12 cents for the electricity.
And we'd get no credit or rebate from
We
Xcel?
would still get a rebate, but that raise in price would negate any financial gain to us, as in my example.
It might even cost us a little bit
It might
more,
cost,
you're
yes,
saying.
and most likely it would.
And these RECs are very valuable to Xcel because then it takes them off the hook for creating their own clean renewable energy, because then they can use these to show the state that they've met their goals.
This would accrue to their renewable portfolio standard, which is a certain percentage of electricity. I believe it's 30% by 2030 must come from renewable energy sources that Xcel sends out to their customers.
So if we wanted to help get above the 30%, we'd want to, as a state, as statewide, not for Xcel, but holding on to these credits and not selling them to anybody would help us get above 30%, assuming Xcel is going to meet their goals.
Assuming that the subscriber held on to the credits, Xcel would have to find another way to meet that standard, which would mean for them either generating or going out on the market and finding more renewable energy. So yes, if we kept the RECs, the overall benefit would be there would be more renewable energy in the marketplace. That is true.
And it just seems to me it's going to be hard for people to want to keep their RECs if it means they have to pay more for their electricity, though. So that's just a side comment, but I appreciate that. I don't see any other comments or questions. I do have a staff direction that I think that, could you pass these? Isn't before you, but should be before you soon. And this is something that we've shared with Property Services, and this is kind of the next step. So this is teeing us up for the next move. Ever since we got involved in this Met Council RFP, even before that, there was some interest in the city go out for their own participation in their own program. And I think we had many discussions and we thought, well, let's stick with the Met Council and go through this process with all these other jurisdictions so we can learn a lot more about what the RFP should look like, what the responses come in, and do that. And I'm happy and delighted to see this move forward, and I'm going to be moving recommendation of it. But I'd also like to move a staff direction to get us started on the next phase and make it clear that we want to move forward. And so this is directing Property Services staff to prepare a request for proposals for community solar garden services to be provided to the city of Minneapolis and return to our committee with a draft RFP no later than February 1st, 2016. Staff should consider prioritizing respondents who demonstrate among the following in the request for proposal. And then it lists several items, all items that we'd like to be considered to be put in the RFP. Some of the things we might want in this: one, availability of subscriptions for Minneapolis residents and businesses, especially low-income people and people of color. 2, significant cost savings to the city. 3, workforce participation for Minneapolis residents in compliance with the city SUPB goals. 4, stacked green infrastructure, including pollinator forage, stormwater management, or local food growing. 5, location within the city of Minneapolis. 6, ownership by Minneapolis residents, businesses and property owners, and 7, ownership by the city of Minneapolis of the renewable energy credits. The hope is by putting these items out there in an RFP as something we'll pay attention to, we might get some more creative responses that could address some of these needs. And actually, several of these were things I think we discovered were hard to get into this Met Council RFP for a number of reasons, including, I think, our workforce and contract compliance goals aren't actually in there. I did notice we are requesting affirmative action if it's over a certain amount of money plan. But anyway, that's the staff direction. Are there questions about that? I know it's a mouthful. Yeah, Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this staff direction is the direction to form the RFP?
A new RFP. So what we'd be doing now, we're approving this is the staff direction that would be separate from the action, which is authorizing negotiation to move forward with the Met Council's RFP and to participate in that. That's what we heard about, and that's what all of these numbers were based on. Then the staff direction is say, now we can start working on a city-centric, city-led RFP proposal for another community solar garden and the RFP would be drafted, and we'd come back in February and look at that and say, okay, now we can go out to that RFP and look at that. And presumably by then, we would know if we've got our Met Council, if we got any energy out of the Met Council contract. Does that make sense?
I believe so. So in addition to the Met Councils, this would be our own.
Yep. Yeah. Now we're teeing up a second one.
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Yes, this would tee up our own.
Okay. Mr. Chair, would you be open to just a friendly amendment or addition, I would say, relating to the ability for whatever solar provider we go with to expand? In other words, to add, to co-locate as much as possible so that we just increase the amount of potential solar that we can get?
Sure. And the way this is written at this time, we're just asking these things to be considered to be put into the RFP. And my assumption is there'll be a base level of the RFP to meet all our basic standards, but we might actually give more points or credit to somebody who can respond to some of these. So could you phrase that in the form of a bullet point?
Yes.
Capacity to expand.
Capacity to expand solar generation or solar energy generation at the existing facility.
Mr. Goldberg, do you think that makes sense? Did you understand that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. It's a little bit like we're adding a wish list here, but by putting this out there and maybe coming back with it, we may find that some people can offer some of these things, or at least they'll tell us in order for them to offer them, here's what they might require from us. Okay. And Peggy, did you get the last point? All right. Any other comments or questions about the action, which then is to move the staff direction and also authorizing negotiation and execution of the solar electricity subscription agreements in November for up to the 12 million kilowatt hours of electricity through the Metropolitan Council competitive proposal process. I'll move those, and all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Those motions carry.
Thank you.
And I think that concludes our business. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and missing whatever you had planned to go to today for our committee meeting. This meeting is adjourned.